Picture this. You run into a Walmart for one reason, and literally one reason only: milk. That's the entire mission. But fast forward 40 minutes, and you're standing at the checkout counter, and your cart tells a completely different story. You've somehow got paper towels you definitely didn't need, a new phone charger even though you already have, two of them at home, a decorative candle, and a bag of chips you weren't even hungry for. The total? $86. You just stare at the receipt, shake your head, and wonder.
Okay, let's dive into this explainer and map out exactly how that $86 accident happens, and more importantly, how we can stop it. We're going to cover the psychology of spending, the architecture of retail, the digital data trap, and finally, how you can take back control. So back to our guy at the checkout counter. How did that happen? It's the universal question we've all asked ourselves when we buy way more than we intended. We love to think we walk into a store totally in control of our choices. But the reality? Well, most of those decisions were actually made for you, months in advance, by behavioral psychologists. It turns out these massive companies understand the little quirks of the human mind incredibly well, and they know exactly how to pull the strings.
And guys, the stakes here are absolutely massive. Just to put this into perspective, as of early 2026, the Federal Reserve reported that Americans collectively owe over $1.2 trillion on credit cards. Trillion, with a T. That's the highest figure ever recorded. Now, that's not just a sad statistic about people being bad at math. It's a staggering indicator of a system that has become extraordinarily good at separating us from money we never actually planned to spend.
Section 1. The psychology of spending. Because as we're about to see, impulse buying isn't some deep character flaw you have. It is literally just a timing problem.
So, Nobel laureate and psychologist Daniel Kahneman described the human mind as operating on two distinct systems. You've got your fast brain, which is automatic, emotional, and highly instinctual. And then you have your slow brain, which is deliberate, analytical, and logical. Now here's the kicker. Almost every retail environment on Earth is weaponized to speak directly to your fast brain. Why? Because a brilliantly designed store doesn't need to logically convince you to buy something. It just needs to trigger a feeling. Desire, a sudden sense of urgency, maybe a little fear of missing out. And it needs to do it so fast that you're swiping your card before your slow brain ever even gets a vote. This perfectly explains why being super smart doesn't protect you here. The fast brain doesn't check credentials.
Section 2. The architecture of retail. Now, what's really interesting about this is how these physical spaces act as mind games to manipulate our tired, distracted brains.
Think about it. You walk into almost any grocery store and you hit this exact step-by-step layout. Step 1, the produce and the flowers are right there at the entrance, right? Those bright colors and pleasant scents immediately put you in a better mood. And researchers have proven that better moods literally lead to increased overall spending. Step 2, the shelves right at your eye level. Those prime spots are strictly reserved for the highest margin brands, while the cheaper store brand stuff sits way down low, so you have to actively hunt for it. And Step 3, the milk, the eggs, the bread. They are always hidden at the absolute back of the store. They do this to force you to walk past nearly every other aisle and hundreds of little temptations just to grab your basics.
And some retailers take this forced exposure even further. Take Costco, for example. Their warehouses are famously windowless and clockless. It totally distorts your sense of time while you're on this manufactured treasure hunt, mixing bulk paper towels with highly unpredictable items like giant TVs or kayaks. And it's a known fact that time spent in a store directly correlates with money spent. Then you have IKEA. They use a literal one-directional forced maze. It makes turning around and backtracking so incredibly inconvenient that you just keep moving forward. It guarantees almost a mile of maximum product exposure before you ever even see a cash register.
But hey, it's not just floor plans. It's pricing menus too. Check out behavioral economist Dan Ariely's famous decoy effect study, looking at The Economist magazine's subscriptions. Option A is digital only for $59. Option B is print only for $125, and option C is print and digital, also for $125. Notice something weird? Option B is deliberately terrible. It's a decoy. It's only there to mess with our brain's internal math. By throwing that ugly third option in there, it automatically shifts most buyers toward option C. It magically makes the priciest plan look like this brilliant bargain, rather than what it actually is, an expensive purchase.
And you see these little pricing mind games absolutely everywhere. Charm pricing is the exact reason everything ends in 99 cents. Because we read left to right, $9.99 anchors on that first digit, so it feels way closer to $9 than $10, even though it's practically the exact same price. And then there's anchor pricing, which Apple has completely mastered. By unveiling a hugely expensive top-tier Pro Max model first, that massive price tag becomes the new anchor, your new reference point. Suddenly, the standard model, which is still incredibly expensive, feels like the totally reasonable, budget-friendly choice.
Section 3. The digital data trap. Let's move to and see how this builds when we go online, where this invisible architecture literally starts predicting your craving.
Okay, the predictive power of these companies is stunning. You might actually remember this wild story from the New York Times back in 2012. Target statisticians built a model that analyzed super subtle shifts in people's purchasing habits, stuff like suddenly buying unscented lotion or specific vitamins. This let them assign a pregnancy prediction score to their shoppers. They were literally mailing maternity coupons to families before the families themselves even knew someone was pregnant. And keep in mind, the underlying tech for this tracking has only gotten drastically more advanced since then.
Today, apps use all this data to hook us through what's called a variable reward. This means unpredictable payouts and bonuses that create a highly addictive, dopamine-driven anticipation loop. Think about the Starbucks Rewards app. With the stars and those random bonus offers landing unpredictably, the app functions exactly like a slot machine sitting right there in your pocket. You aren't just buying coffee anymore, you're actively chasing a reward, and the catch is, you can never predict exactly when it's going to hit.
Which brings us to this profound realization. The real product is the anticipation itself. These tech giants are essentially farming dopamine. Amazon's one-click buying, Netflix's autoplay removing the pause so you literally can't stop watching, those ticking countdown timers on flash sales. The massive dopamine hit doesn't actually happen when you get the item in the mail. It happens in the anticipation right before the reward arrives. The purchase itself is almost an afterthought to the rush of clicking buy.
And of course, the social media layer just compounds the whole shebang. The algorithms on TikTok and Instagram are feeding you content specifically engineered to trigger an emotional reaction. They use influencers to leverage parasocial trust. You know, that weird one-sided familiarity that makes a highly produced sponsored ad feel like a genuine recommendation from your best friend. And they exploit social proof using star ratings and bestseller tags, which taps right into our ancient herd mentality. When we aren't sure what to do, we just look to the crowd, completely bypassing our own critical thinking in the process.
So, the crucial point is, how on earth do we fight back against systems that are literally targeting our primal urges? Section 4, how to take control. Let's get you some armor.
So, as we established, intelligence alone doesn't protect you here. These systems are targeting your impulses, not your IQ. Our absolute greatest defense mechanism? Friction. Just look at how we pay for things. Studies consistently show that we spend way faster and way more loosely when the pain of paying is abstracted. Cash creates an immediate, tangible sense of loss. You physically watch the money leave your hand. Credit cards, on the other hand, delay and abstract all of that discomfort. You just swipe a piece of plastic and the pain is pushed off until the end of the month. To win this game, we have to intentionally reintroduce friction.
So here are your rapid-fire, practical takeaways to combat all this engineered urgency. First, implement a strict 24-hour rule for any non-essential purchase. Why? Because manufactured urgency almost never survives a full night's sleep. Second, shop with a list. Treat it like a binding contract with your future self, so your fast brain can't just override your plan in the aisle. Third, try to use cash or debit for your discretionary spending to bring back that visible discomfort of actually paying for things. And finally, audit your subscriptions on a fixed date every month. Remember, those free trials are deliberately built to require annoying effort to cancel. You have to introduce physical friction into your daily habits.
The instincts these companies are triggering, things like belonging, urgency, identity, they are ancient and they are deeply human. You were never just buying a product, you were buying a feeling that had a product quietly attached to it. So I want to leave you with this lingering question. The next time a digital countdown hits 0 or you feel that sudden, undeniable pull towards something you absolutely did not plan to buy, just pause for a second and ask yourself, is this what I actually want or what I was carefully led to feel? Thank you so much for joining this explainer. And seriously, good luck out there.